The Kansas City Chiefs just got a double dose of good news. We're going to go over Wednesday's injury report and also talk about who is going to start at left tackle for this Chiefs team. You guys are listening to the KC Sports Report. I'm your host, Michael Darcy, and today I have the pleasure to be joined by my good friend Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com and ArrowheadAddict.com. And together we're going to go over Wednesday's injury report because we did get a fantastic word from Matt McMullen, the Chiefs senior beat reporter. He said, once again, everybody will practice for the Chiefs today. This is back-to-back days where everybody has practiced. And Josh, I want to get your initial thoughts. Do you think that this is a great thing or just something that we shouldn't really take much stock into as we go into this playoff game?
No, this is great news. You got everyone practicing. The only one who is not a full participant was, of course, McCole Hardman, who is a limited participant. Everyone else has been a full go at practice. That's huge for guys like Jamari Connor, who's coming off that shoulder injury to end the season in the final game against the Denver Broncos. Chris Jones, after the questionable calf injury late in the season, he's well rested. And then the biggest one, Michael, obviously, is Jalen Watson, who is not only practicing, but is a full participant right now, coming off that broken ankle.
When it's not just a fluke, he's been a full go for the past 2 days of practice, which probably means that he is going to play in some capacity on Saturday against the Texans, which is just phenomenal news because he is, I would argue, the third best defensive player that you have on this team. Like, he was playing some of the best football on this defense before he got hurt, and it kind of seemed like a long shot that he could come back, and definitely not this early. So I think that the fact that he is practicing the past 2 days, being a full go, is a great sign for what could happen this week. Now, I will say he is still on IR, so the Chiefs would have to elevate him for this game. But listen, I think that's the easy part, assuming that he is going to be healthy enough to go.
Yeah, and I think, he has a great shot. And the other great thing is that with the Chiefs playing on Saturday as opposed to Sunday, we've talked about this once already, but because everyone's concerned about rust versus rest. Well, because the Kansas City Chiefs play on Saturday, if they're able to win in advance, then they'll have another day of rest as opposed to the Baltimore Ravens or Buffalo Bills, whoever comes out of the other divisional round game. And that's a really big deal because when you have a team that has so many guys that are either coming off injury or, have had a month off, it's a little bit of a ramp-up period. They're not playing on Sunday and then turning around and playing again on the very next Sunday. They're going to have an extra day of rest, an extra day of recovery. So for someone like Jalen Watson, who's trying to come back from a broken ankle, we don't know how he's going to feel after that first game. You don't know how he's going to feel, but, it could be tender still or it could be sore after that first game back, but he'll have that one extra day of recovery so that his body can kind of get back up to football playing speed.
When Josh, you mentioned the rest, I kind of want to backtrack a little bit and talk about how a lot of these players are benefiting so much from having all of that downtime, having the 24 days of rest. Chris Jones spoke to the media about, how he was feeling, the mindset going into this playoff game, and he felt rejuvenated by that time off. Like, you could tell that he was dealing with that calf strain. And, after such a long season where they played so many games in a short time period, Chris Jones needed a break, and he got that break. And if he's feeling rested and rejuvenated to go, I can only imagine what Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are feeling like before going into this game. And the entire team must be feeling like, man, our bodies are fresh. We're feeling good to go. And the Houston Texans, they're a beat-up roster. I mean, their injury report is just littered with so many players. And so the Chiefs are going to have health on their side in this game, which I would argue is maybe the biggest advantage that you can have in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, the healthier teams have the greatest shot come this time of the year. And like the other thing too is this team had their bye week during the regular season way back in like week 7, week 6. And it's been a long time since they got any sort of rest. It was a long season for them. And you could tell by the way that they were playing and kind of the way that they kind of cut some of those games really close. But, they're trying to conserve energy because this is what they've been kind of building towards is this moment and the postseason and chasing after that three-peat. And so they put themselves in a really good position by kind of exerting minimal energy while still getting the 1 seed and then allowing everyone to rest up. Because the Chiefs have had a lot of injuries this year themselves, obviously, and we're here discussing the injury report. And clearly, all the rest, all the time off helped Michael, because guys that had some concerning injuries there at the end of the season now are full participants at practice.
And I feel like going into the playoffs with a team that has so much experience, we've heard the argument that, are the Chiefs going to be rusty? Are they going to be able to come out and, find a way to attack the Texans? I think they'll be fine. I think the rest isn't going to affect this team negatively. Again, they've played so many games over the last 3 seasons that they needed a break. Their bodies need time to recover. So having that month off was a big thing for all of these players. And I think that if you would have played last weekend in Wild Card Weekend, guys like, Jalen Watson, they wouldn't have played. They wouldn't have been back at practice. The Chiefs have been able to get healthy because of this time off. And that's just a big advantage that a team like Buffalo and Baltimore didn't get. And that is going to count for something, next week in the AFC Championship game or, further on down the line. Look at the Lions. The Lions are absolutely destroyed with injuries. Now they keep finding ways to win, but the healthier teams oftentimes find way to win football games. And even if they weren't healthy, I'm still picking the Chiefs, but you got to be feeling pretty confident with Jalen Watson coming back into the mix, Chris Jones feeling healthy, Chamari Connor, a guy that you mentioned, after suffering that concussion and then the shoulder injury, he's back at practice. Potentially Mecole Hardman, who's been, back at practice and limited in some capacity. But this Chiefs team is the healthiest they've been all season, and it's at the perfect time.
Well, and you made a great point a minute ago there about how the rest has been good for them. Obviously, you can see that, again, with the injury report. And a lot of people question whether this team should fully rest the starters in that last regular season game. But it's made the Chiefs healthier than most of the teams at this time of the year. And it's a great thing you bring that up, because look at the Baltimore Ravens. They played their starters in that last game, and Zay Flowers sustained a knee injury in that game, a sprained MCL. And Ian Rappaport updated us this morning about his status, and he may not even play against Buffalo. And that's a huge loss for them. So you can't tell me that resting your starters in the last regular season game wasn't the right move for this team. I mean, just look at these other teams that have played their starters and then has come back to bite them in the you-know-what.
When the Buffalo Bills rested their starters, the Rams rested their starters, and they don't get any crap for that. But when the Chiefs do it, they're, cheating the Bengals out of a playoff spot and all that crap. But it just goes to show you that rest is important. The Chiefs have that rest now. They've had all of this time to, let their bodies get right, let their minds get right. And now Andy Reid can, go into this Texans game with, a fresh start, and also have a bunch of players that are ready to go out there and rip the Texans' head off because they are fully healthy. And the Texans have kind of limped into this spot, and I think that you're going to see a Chiefs team that is hungry and ready to go out there and prove it, because this is when the meaningful football starts. This is when the Chiefs historically have played their best football. And so why would I think that this year, off of this type of rest, would be any different? But Josh, one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, and we've gotten so many conflicting reports, who do you think is going to start at left tackle in this game? Right now, it seems like DJ Humphries is going to get the nod, but I could maybe see this going differently if he struggles to start the game.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think you should play the hot hand in Joe Thuney, but as you said earlier, it doesn't matter what we think. And it seems like the Kansas City Chiefs are going to give DJ Humphries that opportunity. If I was a betting man, I think we see DJ Humphries in the starting lineup. But hey, if it doesn't work out, or if you notice that he's struggling early on, you can always make the switch back to Joe Thuney.
I think my problem is it's not as easy as just, move that guy over there, move that guy here. Like, it is very difficult to block guys like Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr., and Joe Thuney did a fantastic job when the Chiefs played the Texans less than a month ago, but this is a different game. And so, the Chiefs are going to have to make sure that DJ Humphries is solid at that position, because they have to be very confident that DJ Humphries is better than Joe Thuney, because if he is not, it hurts the team. I understand that Joe Thuney being back at left guard makes your offensive line stronger. You might finally be able to run the ball on the left side, but this is a position where the Chiefs cannot mess too much with what has worked, and Joe Thuney has worked at left tackle. So I personally would rather have Joe Thuney at left tackle. I know you do as well, but it seems like DJ Humphries is probably going to get a lot of the looks at left tackle in this game, in this week of practice. Andy Reid said he hasn't made a definitive choice yet, but I feel like the fact that he hasn't made a definitive choice is better news for DJ Humphries starting than it is for Joe Thuney starting.
Yeah, I agree with you. It sounds like they're trending towards making DJ Humphries the starter. Not sure how I feel about it because, Joe Thuney has been really solid there. And we saw Joe Thuney against the Texans, and that worked. So it's going to be risky to go away from that.
It's going to be risky, but again, the Chiefs are confident in their guys. They're confident that with Andy Reid scheming that they can figure out a way for Mahomes to get the ball out quickly. They can figure out a way to help out DJ Humphries, at left tackle, whether that is chipping with a running back or a tight end. They're confident that they can figure it out, and so I'm not going to go against that, but I do think it is worth noting that Joe Thuney started more games at left tackle than DJ Humphries, not only this season, but for the last year and a half. And that is something worth to note. So I'm going to be very curious to see, how DJ Humphries plays, if he is the starter, and if the Chiefs need to make any changes at that position. But Josh, I think that's all the time we have in this video. Again, guys, everybody was a full go today in the Chiefs practice, except for Mecole Hardman, who was practicing. He was just limited. And we think that DJ Humphries is probably going to be the starting left tackle, even though we would probably rather go with Joe Thuney. So Josh, my final question for you is, where can the people find you?
You can find me here on YouTube. Show Me Football is the channel name. Check out my work on showmefootball.com, arrowheadaddict.com, and then lastly, follow me on Twitter at showmefb.
And guys, all that stuff will be linked in the description of this video. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, go Chiefs.